Hello, everyone. Welcome to eSight Vision Central. eSight Go for the holidays on December 19th, 2025. Thank you, everyone, for joining today for December 2025 Vision Central event. Today on the agenda, we're going to do some introduction housekeeping. We're going to talk about the eSight Go MSRP, discuss candidates for eSight Go, and get into a topic this month, which is eSight Go for the holidays. So for introduction, this is live, so things might happen. To raise your hand at the end of the meeting, you can press Control-Shift-K on a PC or Command-Shift-K on a Mac. This session should only take about 30 to 45 minutes. To access all Vision Central webinar recordings, please go to the eSight YouTube channel, youtube.com/eSight. So the eSight Go MSRP. The MSRP of the eSight Go is as follows. The MSRP for the US is $4,950, and the MSRP Canadian is $6,600. So this is the candidates for eSight Go. This is just a general kind of outline of what a good candidate for the eSight Go. If you have a specific question, whether eSight Go would help your individual condition and so forth, I do recommend calling in to the Gentex line to telephone number to speak and kind of discuss your individual things. But I thought for those that are curious, it's kind of the general overview of candidates for the eSight Go. So eSight is designed to help people with an acuity of 2080 to 2600. And it's designed to assist those with central vision loss and those that have functional peripheral vision. eSight Go can assist a variety of visual conditions, but conditions that affect peripheral vision, such as glaucoma and retinitis pigmentosa, can be a bit more challenging to assist. And that challenge is due to those conditions mainly affecting how much peripheral vision someone has. So that's why it's hard to know whether eSight can help those types of conditions, but there are people that have benefited from that. So, as for the topic this month is eSight Go for the holidays. We're going to have a number of discussions we're going to talk about, such as viewing outdoor Christmas decorations, holiday meal orientation, facial recognition, and reading gift tag cards and more. So why don't we get into our first topic, which is viewing outdoor Christmas decorations with the eSight Go with Leah.
All right, thank you, Tyler. Okay, so with the eSight, the whole purpose pretty much is the zoom, the magnification. When viewing decorations, unless you need or want to zoom in on something to see the detail, if it's a smaller decoration, you're not really going to use too much zoom. Especially like in this situation here, the picture that Tyler's thrown up, I was walking down a path where the decorations were probably like maybe 20, 30 yards, on either side of me. And it was just a nice slow walk. There was lights on both sides. And basically I had my tilt at -2, which is generally straight ahead for most people. And in order to see as much as I possibly could, I did not have my zoom involved at all. And so this actually also allowed me to wear, surprisingly, the eSight does pretty good at night when there is enough ambient lighting. And so often we tell people not to use the eSight when you're walking with it. You'll use your vision underneath. But in this regard, the eSight actually brightened up the path that I was on enough for me to be able to see it more clearly through the eSight than I did with my normal vision underneath the device. Now, this went from pavement here that you can see to like a grassy pathway type thing, and grass wasn't too high since it's December in Virginia, so not really existent with grass. But other than those Christmas lights, there was no other lighting around. So it was a pretty dark path normally. And the lights were enough to where I actually could use my eSight to walk. Now, with that being said, I did not have any zoom, and it was a very slow pace because not only was it dark, I was the only one where I was, and I didn't really want to like speed through and risk falling and being stranded. And plus, also, I was swiveling my head back and forth to look at the decorations and everything. I did not have to adjust exposure. That may be different depending on what you're viewing. If you are driving around and seeing Christmas decorations, I would recommend rolling down your window and cranking up the heat if you're in that type of situation. But rolling down the window, otherwise, you will get the glare from the car's dashboard, and the interior lights of the car will glare off of the windows, and the eSight will pick that up. It does make it harder viewing through a side window. So I would roll down the windows and just sort of like concentrate on one side. My son took me through one pathway that was really nice because it actually did just have decorations on one side. It was a loop that you went around and it was just decorations on one side. So rolled down the window again, just to be able to see as much as I could. I took out the zoom, didn't have any zoom, and that was still enough for me to be able to see stuff. It still had just enough of a zoom. And then if I saw something that I wanted to um see in more detail, we were going slow enough and everything with the driving to where I could increase the zoom a little bit to see, oh, that's, oh, he has it's a, for whatever reason, a guy lighted up fishing and there's a fish on the end of the line, that type deal. um or if there were lights further away that I wanted to see, then you can increase the zoom. But really, that was pretty much all I used. Again, tilt at that -2, just so that way it was more level with where I was looking at. Pretty much head on a constant swivel. Didn't need exposure, and then just very low on the zoom. And I would recommend, I honestly like wearing the eSight at night, in a car and stuff like that. It does interesting things, good in a good way, and not in a bad way, but in a good way. So give that a try and see what you think. And then again, just roll down the window in a car if you are viewing Christmas decorations at night while driving. Thank you.
Excellent, cool.
Mhm,
And one thing to point out I've had with experience is that the contrast may help with textures and so forth. If
mhm,
you're looking at like the blow molds and some of those decorations where there might be like one piece of like inflatables or plastic, having contrast may help like bring in some details and so forth. But the
mhm.
contrast is really also affected by the light at night, and that's something to keep in mind that I've noticed with some of my neighbors' decorations. Thank you, Leah. That was great.
Yep.
All right. And so next we're going to talk about holiday meal orientation with Jeanette.
All right, thank you, Tyler. I'm going to build a little bit actually on what Leah said because I can definitely relate to the fact that when you're in a darker environment, and oftentimes we are when we're eating together, maybe it's at a restaurant, maybe it's in a Christmas atmosphere where the lights are a little dimmed and we've got maybe Christmas lights around, but it's not necessarily as bright as it usually might be at a normal daytime kind of dining table. So I'm going to go on that assumption just for this particular presentation. And so, as Leah says, oftentimes at night, the eSight can fairly significantly, if there's enough ambient lighting, it can actually brighten up the environment. I've noticed it quite a lot, but it does have to have a little bit of ambient lighting, as Leah also said. So I would say that, if you want to, if you're having a meal and you want to see what you're eating, I would say that just putting the eSight on without having to necessarily add exposure, I would say that that's probably going to already help you, because it's going to give it a couple of steps more brightness than you already have. The other thing I would say is typically when eating and seeing what's on your plate with eSight, typically you don't tend to need much zoom, if any. So already when you put the eSight on, there's a default, okay? It's defaulting 1x zoom. So it's already zoomed up a little. That may be enough for some people to get an overall image of especially the positioning of the food. If you want to see in more detail, I would say just use the zoom very gently. So you may want to just zoom up 2 or 3 times to see each element on the plate. Now, I know for some profoundly sort of visually impaired people, the orientation of the food can be done in a clock kind of manner, you know, I don't know, vegetables at 12, Brussels sprouts at 12 o'clock, potatoes at 6, meat at 9, and you know, I don't know, salad side dishes at 3, something like that. That's just very basic. But if, you know, you don't need to work like that, but at least if you've got only sort of 2 or 3 times zoom, you can see that, and then you can kind of home in on the various aspects of the plate that you want to see. So you may want to see what's on your 11 o'clock position, or 2 o'clock position, or 6 o'clock position. So you may have a general picture of what's around, but you may want to see in detail. And then, you know, you may also want to use the tilt function to tilt the camera down a little bit. So maybe -2 or 3 to actually look at the plate. But then if you want to have a general look at the table around you, I would maybe adjust the tilt a little bit, maybe to -1. And again, I would probably lower the zoom a little bit, maybe to 2. I'm sorry. I'm getting tongue twisted today. Maybe to 2. And that will give you a general view. And then you can, you know, if you want to zoom up on something, you can look towards the object. Maybe there's a series of beautiful decorative items in the center of the table, and you may be sitting towards the end of the table. So you may want to look towards the center, and there may be some things that you want to see in detail. So you could zoom up. There is another cool feature that you can use when you're doing that, actually. If you are zoomed all the way down, like I said, to 1 time, where you have a general picture of what's around, and it's slightly brightened up by virtue of the fact that you are looking through your eSight, you could use what we call a quick zoom. So you're zoomed to 1 time, so you haven't added any additional zoom to the default. And if you press on your remote control, on the upper left, there's a button that sort of sticks out, a very small one. When you're zoomed up, that button will quickly zoom you out to 1 time, enabling you to locate certain items that you want to see in more detail. And then you can, you know, release that button and then bring them in. However, if you're zoomed all the way out to 1 time and you look at an item and you think, I'd like to see that in detail, if you press on that upper left button while you're zoomed all the way out, it's going to zoom you right in to the particular item that you're focused on. And the good news is, if you don't know about this quick zoom feature, you can go into settings and you can preset this zoom feature to a level that you think you're going to use generally when you want to look at something in detail. Some people might set their level to 10 times zoom. Some people might set it to 12 or 15 times zoom. Whichever level you choose, when you're zoomed out all the way to 1 time, and you suddenly want to look at something, whether it's something on your plate, something in the center of the table, something on the wall, maybe you want to look at the person you're speaking to, you can suddenly press that quick zoom button and it will immediately zoom you up to the level that you've set, like 15 times or 12 times, without you having to leave, you know, the setting that you're on and go all the way to the zoom and then tap, tap, tap until you get to the zoom item. And then you release it and it goes immediately back down to 1 time again. So I would say that the three functions that you're necessarily going to be using when you're at the dining table during the meal at the holiday season is you're going to use the tilt function, maybe to tilt down to your plate or to tilt back up to see what's around the table. You're maybe going to use a gentle level of zoom. And then if you want to see something in detail, I would suggest you're probably going to use quick zoom. So happy dining, everyone.
Excellent. Thank you, Jeanette. That's great. And next, we're going to talk about facial recognition with Richard.
Hi, all right. So the thing that everyone wants to do is to be able to see people better. We don't always even realize how little of someone's face that we see until you can actually get a really good look with your eSight. So there's no better time than to do this around the holidays. You get to see the kids unwrapping their gifts and grandkids and people you haven't seen for a long time. And this all starts with your magnification and with zoom. Um, you want to make sure that you are zooming in and you're getting it big enough to be able to see. Sometimes, you might think something isn't looking great, maybe it's a little blurry. Try, continue to zoom in and see if that added magnification will really allow you to see those details. Now, um, this, obviously you can zoom in from across the room, across the table, what have you. When you're in a situation like that, um, there are other tools as well that have already been mentioned, but I'll kind of speak to them in the relationship to facial recognition. Also, keep in mind that when you are zooming in, do little individual presses. If you hold down the arrow button, it will continue to zoom, so it will it will jump and then, you might be seeing just a portion of someone's face. So you do want to do single presses and give yourself just the right amount. Now, um, Jeanette mentioned quick zoom. Now, this is something that can come in just really, really handy when it comes to facial recognition, and especially in those family settings where you are setting at minimal zoom. So you're on a zoom magnification of 1, and that allows you to see, most of the room, and you can kind of look around, same as your normal vision. Um, but when you look over and you want to see someone's face, what you can do is when you're on a magnification level of 1, and this only works on magnification level 1, but if you press the finder button, which is the upper left button on your remote, you hold it down, you will see a little box pop up. Where you hold that box, it will zoom in to a preset magnification level. Now, the way that you set that magnification level is within your home menu in your settings, and you go down to quick zoom, and then you can pick whatever number you'd like. You know. Um, so this can be really, really handy for just, looking over someone's talking, right? You want to see them when they're speaking to you. You can have it set in that magnification 1 and then look over, hold down your finder, and it will do that quick zoom. I usually use like a quick zoom of 10, just, for example. And that seems to work pretty well, but that could change depending on your positioning in the room and the distance, from the object that you're looking at. So now on the same in the same vein, you can use the finder to do the opposite. So from magnification levels 2 to 24, if you hold in the finder button, it is going to knock the eSight out of magnification. So let's say, for example, you are zoomed in on someone's face and you're at like a magnification level of 10, but you want to look at the person next to them, they're a little bit away. You can hold in your finder button, and once again, you'll see um, a little box because it knocks it out of magnification. We'll put a box where you point the box so you can point it at the next person's face, let go, and it will jump into that magnification that you had previously. So both are good ways to be able to kind of zero in on someone's face. It's just whatever your preference is. I think I probably prefer the quick zoom myself, but either way, works. Um, just remember that it all starts with the magnification. That's the heart of the eSight, and especially with distance and facial recognition. You want to get it big enough to be able to see. Keep in mind, you don't want it so big that you're staring at someone's pores. So single individual presses, but yeah, I hope those tips will be helpful and you can use them this holiday season.
Excellent. Thank you, Richard. And next we're going to talk about reading gift tags, cards, and more with Cosmo.
So the eSight has a target window, and that's how it judges how to focus and what you're looking at. Sometimes if you're looking at something smaller, like a gift tag or a gift card, if you're looking at the top edge of the screen of the card, the eSight target window might think you're trying to look past it at the wall on the other side of the room, thus making the focus not great. So the easiest way to deal with this is to just put your palm behind the card or the gift tag, giving it a bigger surface area, making it easier for the camera to know what you're looking at. If you are having a little bit of trouble, you can first adjust the contrast. That can help the darks darken and the lights lighten and make it a little bit easier to read the text. If it's a very colorful card or tag, sometimes I find it hard to read when it's black letters on multiple colors. And so you can push that mode button to get to color filters. And I find the grayscale color filter very helpful for those situations. If you switch it to one of the other ones, blue and yellow, black and white, that's just for reading text, and that could be a little confusing with multiple color backgrounds. But the grayscale is like a black and white TV, and I find that, if it's on a holiday blue, green, white, red background, that helps mellow that out, and the black letters really pop. And so that's a go-to for me if I'm having any trouble. For the most part, like everybody said, Zoom is the main thing you're going to do, and hopefully that's all you have to do. And I always encourage people to keep it simple. You do not need to make multiple adjustments for every little thing you look at. Zoom in. If that's good enough, then you're done, and enjoy what you're looking at. And then, but if you're not happy with it, you can try adjusting the contrast, changing the color filter. And if you have made adjustments, you've put it to grayscale, and now you're done looking at that. Now you want to look at the present you got. Just hold down that mode button, and that will reset the view, and it brings you back to no zoom, regular contrast, regular colors. You can also play with the tilt feature, and you do that by clicking that mode button until you get to tilt, and then you can tilt it down up to 12 degrees. And so if you're sitting in your chair and opening up stuff, instead of having to crane your neck down like this, you can tilt it down 12 degrees. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it actually is quite a bit of real estate. And now I can look at what's on my lap, what I'm getting, and barely have to turn my neck down.
Excellent. That's good. And the nice thing is too with the tilt as well, when you're when you're orientating yourself, say if you're looking at Christmas presents or things you're looking at, right? Sometimes just the angle of what you're looking at helps control for lighting and so forth. And using that tilt, you don't have to tilt your head down as much. That's excellent. Thank you, Cosmo. Great. So those are the topics for the eSight Go for the holidays. If anyone has any general questions for topics we discussed today, happy to answer them. Devesh can help out. You can raise your hand for the questions, and Devesh will give you a hand. We're happy to go into more detail, but I hope everyone enjoyed the talking about eSight Go for the holidays and utilizing their eSight.
Yep. So
Devesh,
I don't see any hands up yet.
okay. No worries. Well, if you do have questions, you can always call in, speak with your eSight coach if you're an eSight user, and happy to talk about more detailed questions and kind of getting used to using different aspects of their eSight Go. But thank you everyone for joining for this December's Vision Central event here, and looking forward to seeing everyone next year in the new year in 2026 in January. Thank you very much, everyone.
Happy
Happy
holidays, everyone.
holidays. Bye bye.